What's up, guys? Today I'm with Novels Renaissance again to talk about the Kickstarter campaign for the Nov Renaissance for the Dor Vahdor motion comic. And I'm just very excited and very grateful. I have Nov Renaissance with me, and today we'll just be discussing everything about the Kickstarter campaign. If you have any questions, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer. And I'm just going to let Nov Renaissance introduce himself.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. And it's great to be here. NovRen Renaissance, creator and founder of NovRen Renaissance and the Pre-Flood Earth Dor Vahdor series. And we'll give it back over to you, Epic. But I'm really looking forward to this next live stream of our primetime 4 live streams we have for August.
So this Kickstarter is going to be happening throughout this month. And so far so good. Like, we're so excited because we're already like 39% of the way. We have like a couple of backers, and we're 39% of the way. And the pledging ranges from between $1 to $100. So nothing is too small, nothing is too big. We'll just be grateful for anything that comes through. But I'm really excited about this motion comic thing because one of the reasons, something that motivates me to do it is to help writers and authors, especially indie authors, to tell their story. I like the medium of using motion comics, and from the response I've gotten from the few that I've created, I've just been like really encouraged. And good evening, Birdie and the Books. I really love her channel. Like, just to shout out real quick, her channel is really dope, and she has like a meeting with PL Stewart to discuss the Drowned Kingdom. And I'm going to be there. So anyone who is watching this, you should be a part of that as well. So Nov Renaissance, just so that to bring more awareness to your story, could you tell us a little bit about what the book is about?
Absolutely. And before I do that, first up, I'd also like to acknowledge Birdie and Books. You just recently subscribed to our channel, so thank you so much. We have Barden Books as well, and Arena, Sharitha. Appreciate you coming. And yes, we will get into the merch for your question. Actually, the merch is available through the website, all the merch of it, but we'll get into the discounts with it later. But there's about 6 different lines to cover that. So, all right, to sum up, because we talked about it, a great conversation last week, but to sum up, once upon in the similar story that you have with all the different various authors, Tolkien, Howard, Lewis, any writer, when you start to look at their series, you get an idea. At the time, I was writing a big epic poem that was really more of an allegory of a death of a friend. This baseline information is in the book introduction, and what this evolved into was the supernatural pre-flood world that can also incorporate science fiction of Dor Vahdor, Lost Legends and Sagas of Pre-Flood Earth. And so with that epic setting and context, I framed it off with having this idea of, I'm going to make 12 volumes, which incorporates essentially, I call them books as the AKA chapters in each volume. The first volume basically is like, all right, how do you set something that's epically set in the time prior to the flood of Noah, that's this untapped geographical expansion of fantasy that will have some of its own unique originality with Nephilims and angels and women and different creatures, and then obviously war and death and destruction. How do you set that? It's like, well, there's a war in heaven once upon a time, as it talks about in the holy books. So there's a war in heaven. How did that evolve? So volume 1 is my take on it, and essentially is a big prologue of how the Dor Vahdorverse expands. And then as I get ready to turn it back over to you to continue the discussion with the advent of things like AI art, which is a whole live stream discussion in of itself, I've been able to really start taking these ideas in my head and using open source information, craft characters and concepts and landscapes. In fact, I recently just crafted out stuff, essentially the prototype of an Uber type of shark ancestry series, and the Terribilis Leviathan, which is this great sea beast. So I'll leave it at that and hand it back over to you.
Yeah, like I leverage Midjourney a lot when I'm creating my motion comics, and it's just been such a great help for me. Like, I couldn't have even imagined like that when we first started talking about creating this motion comic series, that something like Mid Journey will come out. And it came out, and like it's made a lot of things much less complicated. You know, I love my fellow artists and everything, but sometimes it's difficult working with them, like, you know, in a project of this magnitude and everything. But everyone that has seen the premiere, which should be coming out next week, has liked it so far, has loved it so far. So I'm just really excited to get that out, just so that you would get like a more concrete idea on what we are asking you to back in the Kickstarter campaign. We're super excited about that. So I'm curious, just based on what you're talking about, like the rebellion in heaven and like the war and the setting and the scale in terms of the epicness and all of that. Why did you choose the Great War in Heaven, and why did you choose like why is it centered around like the story of Lucifer?
Well, so and that's a great question within that context. So we talk about the Great War. One, it's a central event, even though, you know, a book like the Bible, and I think it's also alluded to in things like the Quran, and you have all these different epics. They have something from human history. They all center around it. But you take something like the War in Heaven, you know, you have a cataclysmic event, and this is what's cool about it, because you can get into a lot of these are courses. These are college courses basically that you could teach. These are questions of philosophy. So if you have essentially a supreme being or a god, and he's perfect and he creates essentially perfect good beings, how do you have the ability to have a war? I mean, ideally everything would be fine. Well, we get into that in the book, and there's a very specific reason. It's kind of one of those things where in order or in the desire to do something so good to please, one ends up falling to corruption. So you can even get into the further realm of like, do you have it like they talked about in the Matrix with the mirror? And then a side note to this is basically we get into the cusp of, you know, plans within plans and realms within realms. I mean, like we'll go off on a lot of different films and a lot of different examples, because I'm about to do the Matrix 2 analogy. So you can see when we kick a live stream, we have a lot of fun with it. But to go back on target, you know, get into that scene of the Merovingi with Matrix 2, and he's sitting there in the club, and Neo and Trinity and Morpheus walk in, and they sit down, and you know they're having the banter, great banter. But then they get to a very important question, and the Merovingi, you know, asks them, "Why do you want it?" And they basically start to do it. He's like, "That's not why you want it." And then they start about everything begins with what, and the Merovingi says it's with cause and effect, and Morpheus and Neo are like, no, it's choice. He's like, no, it's the illusion of choice. So that in itself, you know, is like, was this essentially caused because the supreme being knows everything, or is there an aspect of choice? We tend to go more with the free will and the choice, because there's also a tied aspect to it, and that's love. And if you program something, it does what it says, but it has no choice to do something. But then if you have a choice, like for example, you can't make somebody love you, or you can't make somebody want to be a follower of Epic Tales or Novus Renaissance. Or you can't make anybody make people buy the merch unless you're dictatorship. But then, of course, you don't have a choice, because there's that great Batman and Superman novel, graphic novel they had, where it's like you have a choice. You can either obey or you can die. It's in an alternate multiverse. Batman and Superman.
Yeah. Speaking of merch that we can't force you to buy,
of wanting to do something honoring to the creator.
Okay, sounds good. So I just wanted to address this question on what kind of merch should we expect. Well, I made a whole video about it, but it ranges from you know, getting cool ass merch like this. This is like one of the scenes in the story where like an angel is falling from the sky, like from the war. When you see the premiere next week, you would have more context to what is going on in this particular scene. But like just like a couple of scenes from the episodes that have like look really good. Like we have merch for those design t-shirts, like phone cases, like hat designs, and just like anything you can basically put merch on. And there are like so many, and it's not just this. There's also very metal, very punk kind of art merch as well. And just like there are a lot of things you could get, like depending on like the reward tiers and everything. Yeah, like even when I was making the video and I was reading through the tiers and everything, because I have to, we've changed them so many times when we're preparing for this campaign. you know, I learned like some even extra stuff like if you, I think the at the $100 tier you get to like come on and speak with the whole creative team. And yeah, like it's just really exciting. Plus you could also get, so the scale of this, what we are trying to do here is very, very interesting, because he has like a whole album of tracks and sounds that he uses we use it for the motion comic, and just to like set the tone and the mood of the story itself. So he paid like a whole orchestra to you know, come and like so we just got like we just try to put in the best package, just so that you know, to make everyone who contributes and pledges to feel as like a part of like what we're doing. And so far so good. Like we're at 39% along the way, and like we're super, super grateful. And we're just hoping that when the premiere comes out next week is going to have like an even bigger effect, so that people know exactly what we're asking them to support. But yeah, do you have anything? Did I miss anything, Nov?
No, no, you're good. And part of me, because we had the conversation yesterday, part of me wants to mention the Ryan Reynolds effect, but I won't do that here. But I think that the points that you said, I think also are really profound, because Dor Vahdor is relatively unknown. It's kind of like, what do they say in the classic San Francisco and the California rhyme is the gold was found in 47, the miners came in 48, the whores in 49, the 1850 native son was born. So it's sort of this untapped new world that deals with supernatural fantasy, and it's got a lot of growth to go to. So the animation, I think, is superb, considering that it's done independently. And we're not a major studio. We have no major media. If you look at a movie like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I think it was close to like $400 million budget, maybe over 400 million. And we now know now anywhere from a third of a budget for film does to marketing. Maybe if you incorporate the ticket sales, it's up to half. So half of that budget is due to marketing, projections, and tickets that they have to purchase from the theater. And so you think about something like that, and maybe it breaks even. I haven't checked the film status in the last week, but it was not on track to do very well as far as like getting everything back with a budget. But that's it. And the opening shot that you craft, which people will be able to watch with that, we're calling it the campaign teaser, basically the release is phenomenal. First time I saw it, I was like, wow. You took from the book to the script, from what we talked, and to the film. I was just like, this is phenomenal.
I know, I'm so excited for it, because it's coming out next week, Wednesday, on the August 16th. It's going to be so dope. Like, you know, I feel like for those people who have followed me from the start of my channel for a while, my motion comics have only gotten better. And like what is coming out on Wednesday, I think is the best that I've done so far. And it's one of the reasons I'm so excited about it is because like it tells a story from start to finish. So unlike my other trailers where it's like flash and like, you know, maybe like a few cool lines here and there and you don't really know what's going on, this is like a full story. This is like you know, you can you know, go from basically start to finish, and like there are characters you can, you know, pick out and like, you know, characterize for yourself and everything. So it is really, really exciting. And yeah, like I'm going to be doing a lot more of this in the future, and like this being the first one, it's also like a huge learning process for us. But it's always great when you find someone who can share like your passion, your for storytelling and everything. So this, he asks a really good question here. I'll let Nov Renaissance get into it. Is the story steeped in history or its own thing, or a mix?
Yeah, thanks, Bards and Books, for that question. And before I just tie back to something that you had mentioned with your last statement, is that another thing that I really liked about what you did with the episode, and we talked about this last live stream. So again, we encourage people, these are building on each other. So if you hear us talk about something where we allude to last live stream, it was a great 45-minute session. So you should definitely check that out, because we got into a lot of the founding details with this. But the story that you created within that episode, it's a standalone like short story, because it focuses on a slice of one of the book chapters, book 19, The Great War in Heaven. And that book essentially could be like, let me just say this way. If I had the budget of Games of Thrones with HBO on it, and it was just Epic and myself, not D&D, we could make 8 seasons if we had that budget from just that one book chapter. Because there's 7 realms in heaven, which means there's 7 basically strategic geographies that have to be conquered in order to take or secure to the large white throne, where the supreme creator in the character El Adonai sits. So that is that's the context and the story that's created within this 5-minute power punch is awesome. But then going back to the question, so this is steeped in the arc of myth and legend. It can be, I think with humanity, like if you're more on religion and you're more on history and sort of studying the mystery of how we got here from the earth perspective, you can make a very good case that there are historical pillars that this can be built around. It's steeped in a sphere of both real history meeting legend, and then also creative idea that's taken. So I'll pause there to see if you've got anything to say to that.
So just like to, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, there's a historical context to the story that is also like gotten from religious the study of like there's this study where people study religion from the perspective of history, or history from the perspective of religion, and they try and like bring it together. And I feel like there are a lot of those elements there. It is like I don't want to call it it's historical fantasy, because it's not. I don't know if it's like historically like point on point accurate, but in terms of like lore, or like old stories about how everything came about from a religious perspective, it is it's very, very like tied to stuff like that. So there's angels, there's demons. It focuses on the fall. This particular story focuses on the fall of Lucifer, the war in heaven, and just basically the interactions and the build up that happens in between all of that. So I feel like saying it's a mix is accurate, but it's also fictional. It's also fictional as well.
I think I used the phrase, essentially, this is a fusion. So you picture a great cauldron. You could take a ingredients of history and ingredients of religion, ingredients of philosophy, and ingredients of fantasy, science fiction. But because it's pre-flood Earth, that gets into that whole thing about the myth, which you could, sometimes the myths have evidence historically, sometimes they don't. But if you go to all the major ancestral cultures of the human family, they rotate along around this flood myth, a common human ancestry with a common myth. And so that's sort of within a realm to work and to generate stories from. So you could say there's a dash of it. Some things you can prove more readily than others, but it's also a fun world to operate in and to create something, a new branch on the great tree of story, as Professor Tolkien talked about.
Nice. And just like from my experience of when I first read the book, like it was written in a very, it felt like I was reading lore. It felt like I was reading like an account, like a religious account of history. It felt like the style of writing you use. It reminded me a lot of like books like the Iliad, and like and what's the name of the other one? The Iliad. What's the name of the second one again?
Well, the Iliad of the war of the Greeks, and then we have the classic follow-up, the Odyssey.
The Odyssey, yeah. So it reminded me of like my experience reading like the Iliad and the Odyssey, in terms of how it's kind of like religious and like historical kind of setting. I wanted to ask
Well,
you this:
I just have a quick fun bonus to that. So for those of you that are wondering, yes, actually, the Iliad is mentioned in Dor Vahdor Volume I on page 29 of the book, which is available at Fine Links at Amazon, via our website, everywhere. But no, we actually bring that up because, you know, there's an anticipated question like, how do angels that are eternal beings die? You know, and like, how can there be a war? So I have a section in there about concerning the Great War in Heaven. And we start with the classic question raised by Sean Bean as Odysseus to Achilles, where he talks and states to him in Wolfgang Petersen's 2004 film Troy, war is old men talking and young men dying. And then later he says, hey, you know, ignore the politics. And then right after that paragraph, I go to questions as you have in Homer's work of the Iliad. You know, if you actually have read the Iliad, it's actually quite action packed. You've got gods fight each other, and they're bleeding, and they're being smitten down, and they're some of the gods are worried about their dying. So, so I'll leave it at that.
So, what do you think? What do you think? You know, the motion comic adds to the story. Do you think the motion comic adds to the story in any way, or like what elements can people expect? Like, I'd advise everyone first of all, like, to read the book for themselves to see what we're working on. But what do you think? Like the motion comic adds to like the story that you're trying to tell.
The motion picture, when I first saw it, and then I looked at the final review, is that it is a fantastic visualization of kind of the imagination. So, you know, people can read the book and they can come up with stuff in their imaginations. For me, you know, you've got it where you're picturing the gods fighting, but then to actually see put it together, where you have these different action sequences, it was absolutely phenomenal, and that was something quite special to see, because it's personal at that point when you're actually having it brought in. So I would give it back over to you.
Oh, okay. I was doing the motion comics. I was trying very much to keep the spirit, keeping spirit with the keep the spirit of the story alive and everything. And I'll really, like, after a lot of back and forth, I'm happy, like you're happy with it, and I showed it to like a few people as well, and they like it as well. So yeah, and for me, this is something I want to do to help like indie authors and just storytellers in general tell their stories, like put it out there on for an audience that can appreciate that kind of stuff. And yeah, like I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to work with Nov Renaissance on this. And yeah, let me just go through some of these comments. Let me see.
And it's pretty awesome working with you too, Epic.
Oh, appreciate that. So if you were to purchase the book, would that also be available on the website or Amazon? I think it's available on both. You can get it on both the website and on Amazon. Nov,
Yeah, you go
could you just drop the link on the comments just so that like the people like on the live stream can check it out?
Yeah, I already did that. Yeah, you go to the website and we'll have a very clear link at the top. You can go right, just both the book and the audio book, and then it also has other sections in the website that you can get the music and the merch. So people, for the audience on the live stream, and for anyone that hears at this part of the stream, you can actually go to the website right now and purchase merch. You got pint glasses, masks, cases, t-shirts, hoodies.
Hey, I have like a
And
guest
a number
here,
of other
like
things. So it's all there right now.
yeah. So this is a Strange Mentality Paper. She's like one of my favorite people on YouTube, and she have it as well. I'm excited here. Let me see. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Strange Mentality Paper. That's great. Thanks for coming, guys. Some okie dokie dude. Greetings. Awesome to see you guys.
These are my people. These are my people. Like great to have you here as well, man. Great to have you here as well. So yeah, we've just been talking about like the Kickstarter and like what the campaign is going to look like. Just on some general like you know, bookish stuff? Like, what are you reading now, NovRen?
I'm actually reading. I'm reading an independent novel that's relatively new. I think it's the good. It's the Good Murder Guide. And then I'm also going back and I'm reading a bit of Tolkien and some mythology because it's part of an ongoing review of coming up with ideas for the next book, which book 2 will have a lot more writing, more of like action sequences, and then also with this concept of lore. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. And then ironically enough, I'm also reading a book that was written in 1885. I just got it because I found it fascinating, about the Antichrist war on Christianity. And it was a fascinating concept because, again, it was written in 1885. And when I started reading the introduction, it was the editors.
1885.
1885, it's predicting this, and you start to read it and you're like, was this happening today? It was like a 50-page editor's letter, whole context of it before you get into the letter and everything with like I haven't even gotten to chapter 1, so it's been quite fascinating.
Yeah. See, I spent all morning preparing my classroom for Monday and to console myself. I went bookshop. Well, I think that's a healthy way to console yourself, And speaking of
superb therapy,
bookshop, yeah, like the best therapy, like you find a book that would, just like change your perspective, or just like let you escape into a world where you're watching the events and everything, and there's a less of a stress to deal with. Right now I'm reading this behemoth of a book by AJP. Like, AJP has come up on my live stream a couple times, and I've worked on a lot of projects with him. I think he's the person I've collabed with the most. But this is book, The Father by AJP. I highly recommend. I think I'm like 300 pages in, but this one, it's like, it feels really heavy on the brain. It's such a thick book. And reading this book, like, I'm appreciating like AJP's intellect, and delving into like his imagination and everything. And it is a very scary place to be, but it's a very like I'm enjoying the book a lot. Like, his character work is absolutely impeccable, and so far I'm enjoying the book this a lot. And yeah, hopefully one day I do a Kickstarter for his stuff as well. And but just throwing that out there.
AJP is phenomenal stuff that he's in several of your discords, but within the internal Discord chats that people can see, like, he has a wealth and a huge range of incredible things and concepts that he works at. He goes very deep into subject matter.
Yeah, very smart. Like, and he's one of those people that has answer to any question that has to do with like philosophy, like psychology, writing. He knows a lot of all that stuff. And for the fact that he like this book is big. Like, if you want to understand how big this book is, look at how tiny the font is. That is how tiny the font is, and look at how thick this book is. It's one of the most intimidating books I've read in my life, but I'm reading it and I'm enjoying it so far. I feel like this is a book you cannot read too quickly. You have to like take your time to digest all of the concepts and everything. But yeah, like it's a book that I highly recommend. And just to get back,
it's not a TikTok book.
It's not a book for TikTok. This one you have to sit down.
15 seconds.
Yes, when I'm reading it, where's my diction? I have my diction, my thesaurus beside me, and I have like a note. When I encounter a word I don't understand, I make I read the meaning, get the meaning in the dictionary, make 10 sentences, and then I keep going. But yeah, it's a book I'll highly recommend. I haven't even finished it yet, but yeah. But yeah, like, do you guys have any questions about the campaign? Just let us know. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Like I mentioned earlier, the premiere is coming out next week, like a full episode 1. Like, each episode should range between like 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, episode 1 is coming out next week. So if it's something that so instead of just like taking our word for it that it's awesome, and like you can get to see it, and like if that would like push you over the edge into pledging, we really really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, we are so grateful. We're at 39%. I don't know, I'm not even sure who's pledging, but we're at 39% into this thing. And it's just like we feel like we've been building momentum since we announced the the Kickstarter. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
for
had
sure.
actually good, we've had
It's
good
a thick
sustained
book.
growth, particularly coming out of nowhere. Basically, it's about 20% per week. Obviously, there's the Kickstarter campaign has a 30-day limit on it. We set it for 30 days for $700 to have a success. And I would encourage everybody. There's a phenomenal. That's the great thing about you do something outside of your comfort zone. Or you do something for the first time. You learn new skills, and Epic and I have learned a lot of lessons learned on how we do it differently. But in the process of that, you're taking steps forward. And he made together a phenomenal 4-minute video. But he actually does it. Could see all the rewards right now at the Kickstarter campaign link. So it will take you into details. From the stuff that you're gonna get. Rewards that you can get up to 50%. Yes, I said 50 in his video. He said you can go on a shopping spree of discounts. So 50% on all the merch. There's original composed music that you'd get at the reward tier, and then also just donating $1 gets your names in the credit sequence. So donating a dollar to 10 is nice. There's also the reward where you're going to get custom art from the actual the show that we came up with. So like the original animation art stills, plus then the official illustrator of Dor Vahdor, hashtag Eric Charles Art, who did the book illustrations. He's a well-established artist, so he graciously agreed for a discount for his Etsy shop. So you can go on and pick a number of things that he does, from fantasy, science fiction to classics, with
Yeah.
Muppets to Transformers. So
Yeah, I love the one with Gandalf, the one of Gandalf he did. I think that one, I might just get that one for myself because it
yeah,
looks
with
so
the
cool.
with the
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah, when Gandalf, yeah. That's such an epic. And the one with Gollum as well. I think that
That's
one's really
actually
dope.
that was one of the feature. I asked him if I could use that for my Exurge Tolkien Encyclia. That was my 8-part series to counter the Rings of Power season 1 heresy, and that one was phenomenal because it's like you can just see he's like, I got the ring, but
So
not for long.
so if you don't know what he's talking about, like after like the Rings of Power came out, this guy made like a whole like 3-month campaign where he just went online, and he was just like talking about how, like, just bashing the show, man, just bashing the show, and just talking about how they they destroyed like the spirit of like what we know as Lord of the Rings and everything. And watching from a distance, I found it very funny because he got into a lot of arguments online, but I completely understood his pain. And but yeah, like back to
We didn't bash anything. All we simply did was point out the error of a corporate machine theocracy ways. And the proudest moment we have is when we officially challenged hashtag not a professor Corey Olson. He's a PhD in medieval literature, but he once upon a time started a podcast which he called the Tolkien Professor.
you all deserve every pledge you get, both so talented yet underrated. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you
Over
so
the
much.
other PhDs. And we basically pointed out that he's not a actual professor, but also we challenged him to debate. And the biggest irony is he basically said debates are not academic, and he basically backed out. And it was just amusing to see, because it's like, here's this expert that Amazon's bringing on that actually has shown a very interesting sequence right out of the scene from Tolkien books, becoming a ring wraith for it. So it's something that's just like, wow, we're living the Lord of the
NovRen is such a funny guy. Like he went after the guy calls himself the Tokyo Professor. He went and like made sure, like confirmed got evidence that the dude was not a professor, and just went on to continue like calling him out on on
Yeah,
his claims on being
we
knowledgeable.
actually we have a standing debate offer. He pays no attention to us, but someday he will, because there's a lot of stuff you can do with narration AI. But we actually have a Novus Renaissance standing open debate for him to come do a Lincoln Douglas official professional. Bring your best evidence. But that'll be something that's fun. Eventually, he'll have to pay attention. Eventually, like everybody will, because once this episode gets out and people start to see what we've done and what we can do, and the Dor Vahdor verse, and then you have a lot of other, I think, creators and authors that need a spark of inspiration. And we had a great part about this yesterday, Epic. Why do we do what we do? Well, it's our passion. It's something that drives us. And so you might have somebody that's really down on their luck. You might have someone that's just wanting to have a moment of, hey, somebody did something, I can do that too. And of course, as I said last week, it's a lot of fun to do this.
So yeah, like she just putting it out there that she coaches like a debate, but mostly policy and non Lincoln Douglas. 100%. If that debate is ever going down, she could
We can do
maybe
that too,
moderate.
hands
She could
down.
she could she could moderate. Like I don't know if she'll be down to do that, but she could moderate the debate. And yeah, you better know I'll be sitting down there to watch and laugh, because I know when it comes to like Tolkien, like No Renaissance is the expert there. It's like everything, like the whole book, everything he does is motivated by Tolkien. Like a lot of times I'll be talking with him and he'll just throw a Tolkien reference or a Tolkien quote, just because he's so like so I do not doubt. Okay, well, like we have an answer right here. She'll be down. So it's on paper right
You're
now.
too
So
kind.
but yeah, like so far, like like for every single ounce of every support, like just even kind words and active support and pledging that has gone towards this campaign, we're so grateful. And um like it's just like and just to allude to what he was talking about earlier, when we because we have like weekly discussions and everything. He would asking the question about like, why are we doing this, it's because like what else is there to do? Like for me, I know, like if you ask the doctor, like why are you doing this, what else is he supposed to do? He wants to save lives. And for us is, what else are we going to do? Like we want to tell stories, and we'll be that for us, this is what is important, like as far as like our existence is concerned. So this is very, very important. And for everyone who can be a part of it, we welcome that. And we really, really encourage it. And just think about, like, if this is successful, think about what this does in terms of like setting up, creating a system where indie authors can be supported, to tell their stories and their original stories, and um, just put it out there so that like people are aware of it, and like discussions can be had. And another thing about that pushes me towards this is that all of this is not, it's not pushed, we're not trying to push any ideology, we're not trying to push like religion, we're not trying to push anything. We're literally just trying to tell the best story we can tell in whatever medium we can tell. And this so happens to be motion comics. And yeah, like with the way we're using AI and everything, we hope like that we'll be able to produce even more, and just like create like an environment where storytelling is at the forefront of everyone's experience. So we're really, really grateful. And yeah, like unless Nov Renaissance has something else to add, I'm thinking we call it a day. And like, do you have anything else to add?
Next week, the Wi-Fi connection will be much more. There's a storm in the greater area that I'm in right now, and so it's mixing that. But I heard everything you said, and I'll simply add to this. So there's the invitational challenge, with our campaign, and I would say next week, try to spread the word. spread it out and bring a friend back or two. Because another thing that Epic and I have talked about is, maybe from here, because you talked about the indie author, and you've got the reference right now with, a great illustration right now of an empire that's falling is with the Mouse Pyre of the Magic Kingdom, and it thought it could do whatever it could do because who could bring it down? The Walt Disney Corporation that has been around for over 100 years, and they've made a number of decisions that have led to a drain of funds and is not bringing back in product. But that's a behemoth. And you look at Amazon with Rings of Power, they spent up to $1 billion when you add it into buying the rights to do certain things and then the amount for episode. Well, these are massive corporations, massive structures. Epic Tales Novus Renaissance is doing something organically grown, but it's also the point of a community of its own realm that other princes and sovereigns and independent authors and creators can come to and be free to have fun and explore their passions. So, like we've talked about, should after the Kickstarter campaign, we do something quarterly, like we call it the High Council, where we can have other authors or other creative project designers come and talk about a myriad of things in addition to their own work. And this is how things get started. So you start with Dor Vahdor, you could replicate that across a number of different titles, but we are working on this. And if the cool thing that I already see in my mind with the releasing of the episode this week is that you watch that and you see what we've done organically. So the campaign, raising funds to make the next episode, the skills that Epic has developed since then are phenomenal. And I don't think it's a stretch to say, over time, you get to the Astartes level, independent Warhammer 40K fanfic they made. Check that out on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, this is so many possibilities from here. I'll pause.
Yeah, and thank you for kind words there. Yeah, my skills have been improving, and hopefully I can do something on the level of the Warhammer motion graphics that were done. Like, if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. So some Okie Dude was asking, is this an original story or an adaptation? So the motion comic itself is an adaptation of Nov Renaissance's original story. So it's an original story of Nov Renaissance, who we're talking with today, and I'm basically adapting it in motion comics. So we're trying to do like a whole series, like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, like a continuous story, so that people can follow and watch, enjoy, experience, and everything. So yeah. Oh, I'm close to finishing my novel as well. Congrats, my friend. Yeah, congratulations on having a published thing, and I'm really eager to to read your novel.
Congratulations.
I've spoken to some Okie Dude on his channel before about his book, and I'm really eager to check that out as well. And yeah, maybe we'll do a motion comic of it. Who knows? We'll see. I'm looking forward to reading it and experiencing that novel.
The Dor Vahdor Volume I is about 90% organic, original, and about 10% inspired too, for context on the book. Professor Tolkien, he nailed it. There's a massive tree of fairy, so there's this huge tree that's grown up since the beginning of humanity, and we all form branches of it. So I like to think that this is its own branch that started to shoot off from that, but this is harnessed right out of that great trunk, that great tree with its majesty and its legacy.
Yeah, I'll have you on the beta reader list. Well, I'll take you up on that. And yeah, when I'm asking you for it later, I just want the book. I don't want any extra discussion. Just send me the book, and I'll be happy to read it and give my feedback. So thank everyone who has come out today. I'm very grateful you came out today. You've made this live stream what it is. And if you have any more questions after this live stream, say you're watching it after the live stream is already over, feel free to reach out to me or drop a comment here. I'll be happy to answer. Nov Renaissance, thank you for coming out today. And if I have no more questions, and I think I'll just call it a day. So stay epic, and peace.
Yeah, I'll also answer the questions that are left in the chat. This will be great.
So, yeah, bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.